Oh, that's so hard. The
I know.
only three. My God. Um. Wow. Okay, let me think. Well, all right. To make it easier on myself, I'll restrict it more to like rock and heavy music, like that umbrella, general umbrella. Because if I have to, if it's talking about all genres of music, then it's like it's impossible. But I would say for rock and uh, well, what had a huge influence on me from, and probably people are going to be really surprised by it, is Rush album Grace Under Pressure, which isn't like a very progressive album. But what when I was younger, what really drew that was actually the first album that kind of got me into different textures, because there's a lot of synthesizers and stuff on that album. In fact, sometimes the synthesizers like are louder than the guitars. And I remember when I first listened to that, because that was at that time in my life, I was obsessed with like thrash metal and stuff, and Metallica and Slayer and Pantera and all these heavy things. And my friends kept telling me, "Hey, you got to check out this band Rush. You know, they're not a metal band per se, but you know, the prog, and you know, they have a lot of details and a lot of interesting things going on." So I checked out all the stuff from the '70s. I was like, "Yeah, this is really killing." And when I first heard Grace from Under Pressure, I remember kind of being like, I felt weird listening to it, because the whole synthesizer thing was like it was very foreign to me, and it made me feel uncomfortable actually. But somehow like it started to grow on me, you know what I mean? And I really dug the way the sonic textures that came from blending like synthesizers and guitars together, and just all the possibilities there are with sound. So that would be one album, and that's kind of the reason behind it. I'll just, to make it easier on myself, also I'll probably just say like most influential albums, which
Yeah.
are kind of geared towards when I was younger. I would say "And Justice for All" by Metallica. That was the first Metallica album I ever got when I was like in fifth grade or something, and it just floored me. You know what I mean? I was completely changed. You know what I mean? I couldn't think about anything else during that time. You know, this was like 1991 or something. You know, my
Yeah.
parents got it for me for Christmas, and I remember just it changed my life. So I would say that would be another one. Um, and maybe actually only a few years ago, Devin Townsend put out a live album called Order of Magnitude, I believe it's called, and I love that album. I mean, just the way they played it. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I can name so many now that I'm
I
thinking about it.
know.
I'm already thinking so many albums that are like equal to it. So those are just kind of three of many.
Awesome. I know.
Yeah.
It's a difficult question.
Favorite three drummers. Oh, gee, this is also really hard, because
Sorry.
I also play a lot of jazz here in Beijing. So I
Yeah.
have a lot of drummer like heroes that are jazz drummers, but I also have a lot of drummers. I'll kind of keep it in like the rock heavy umbrella. I would say Gene Hoglan is one of my heroes for sure. I guess I have to give it to Neil Peart, just in terms of influence, from like the rock drummer perspective. I'd say Gene Hoglan, Neil Peart, um, and a third drummer. Wow, I don't know, maybe Vinnie Paul. I'm thinking about like when I was younger, just in terms of influence, just like his groove and just the
Yeah.
attitude, just the attitude. He's not. There's so many cats now. You look at Instagram, they're doing these things. It's just like frightening. They're playing double bass at 400
I
BPM and all this shit.
know.
I mean, it's incredible. But like when I think of just like the attitude and the groove, I mean, Vinnie Paul he's like untouchable. You know what I mean? And same with Gene Hoglan too. I mean, he's got such a swagger to his playing. He's on another level. So yeah. Again though, like I could mention a
I
hundred
know.
drummers. So
I know.
yeah.
Okay, so what are the three essentials to take on tour? Like when he went over to Holland for the Prog Power, what were the three essential items to take with you?
Well, I brought my cymbals. You mean just like
Anything?
personal items, or just
Yeah,
like
like anything, like
anything?
fresh
Okay.
headphones. I don't know.
Well, cymbals, because I had to bring my cymbals to play the gig, my double bass pedal, and my drumsticks. Okay. Yeah. You know, because if I don't have those, then I'm fucked. So I would say those are the three essentials.
All right. So if you could have like 3 random countries to go out on tour with which countries would you choose?
Oh, that's a good question. So the United States would definitely be one of them. I think Japan would be really cool because Japan, they have a pretty open mind over there about music.
Mm,
I think probably England, the UK,
cool.
you know, be pretty cool.
Which musician, dead or alive, would you have with you in a car for a 24-hour road trip?
Which musician would I want with me in a car in a road trip?
For 24 hours.
24-hour road trip?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm kind of cool with him, kind of friends with him. I guess maybe Devin Townsend because he's a really interesting guy, and I could probably pick his brain about music production and recording and mixing and stuff. So I could probably learn a lot in the in the process. So I guess him.
Okay. If there was a made up song about your personality, what would it be called? Like totally made up.
Oh, and what would it be called?
Yeah.
Oh man. That's a good one. I don't know, dipshit. I have no idea.
Do you prefer or have you partaken in Tai Chi or Kung Fu?
I have not. And believe it or not, I very rarely run into anybody who actually practices that. But there are people. Yeah, there are people. I play with a great pianist here in Beijing, and I know he studied that for quite some time. Actually, I think that was the original reason why he came here.
Right.
Yeah, but myself personally, I haven't. I mean, I think it's really cool. You know, if I had a little more time, I think maybe it'd be something I'm interested in. But I'm just kind of bogged down with a million other things. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you prefer then festivals or small intimate gigs perform?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the style of music. If I'm playing jazz, I like to play in the smaller the venue, the better. In fact, some of the most or jazz or just improvisational music in general, because when you have small venues, you can rely on the natural sound of the room, and there's a more closer connection to the audience. So it's a whole different vibe than when you're playing rock or heavy music because the volume is part of the aspect of it. It's power. You know what I mean? So it depends on the menu. If it depends on the style. If I'm playing like improvisationally based music, that's generally more acoustic based, then the smaller venue is better. If I'm playing like with like a band like that, then of course the larger the venue, the better because you have the sound, the projection of the sound. You know, it's all about the sound.
Do you prefer vinyl or digital?
I guess if I had to choose one or the other, and I had the means to listen to one or the other, of course it would be vinyl. You know, but it's a little expensive. You know, and I don't really have that much money right now.
Isn't it?
So
Man,
yeah,
how expensive. It's like, and even
it's expensive. Yeah,
everything. Yeah, man. Everything.
Yeah, it's expensive. Right. So just yeah, because of financial reasons, then I'm gonna pick digital. But if I was rich, you know, I would say vinyl, sure.
All right. And the final one, that's your favorite Chinese food.
Oh, that's also really hard a question to answer because in China, yeah, you get a lot of hard questions today. In China, every region has its own like specialty.
Yeah.
China's huge. I mean, it's a huge country. So everywhere you go, there's different types of food, you know, and geographically, there's a relationship between the geography of the location and the food. Well, I guess that's true of anywhere, of course, but especially in China, because in like in some of the southern places like Sichuan and Hunan, the food can be very spicy.
Yeah.
And that's actually there's a reason for that because oftentimes it's very humid in those areas. So the logic is when you eat spicy, you're kind of removing, you know, it's also based in Chinese medicine that you're removing the humidity from your body. You know, when you sweat, you're balancing it. So for example, like if you're in the north where it can be cold and dry, the idea is, well, now it's different. People eat everything everywhere. the idea is you don't really eat too much spicy food because your body needs humidity, because it's the opposite. So it's always like finding a balance between like the way your body functions. But sorry, I'm kind of
Cool.
not answering the question, but
Right.
I guess I would say, if I had to pick one, maybe Sichuan or Hunan, like that kind of food, like, which is very different here than because I remember in the States, you go to some Chinese restaurant and say like Grand Sichuan or Grand Hunan restaurant or something, and it's a completely different thing, than when you're actually here eating it. A lot in the States and stuff, usually, unless it's in like a really awesome or Chinese and stuff, a lot of the times in the States, I don't know how it is where you are, but it's very sweet. They sweeten the food a lot.
Yeah.
But here it's more just like spicy and fresh, and yeah, it's really good. In fact, I just had some last night, some Sichuan food, and it was very spicy. It was good though.
So
I
cool.
guess I would pick Sichuan.
Cool. So, are there going to be any more